G'day everyone, thanks for joining us in Griffin, Indiana. We've just started out in April. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. So far, beautiful sunny day, but we'll have to see how that goes. It looks like there is some rain in the forecast. What can we see on the rain front? So the morning looks around about the middle of the day. Just a couple of hours of showers and then some clouds. So nothing that should get too much in the way of our plans. Now, speaking of plans, you'll see we've dropped into the negatives again. It's costing us for our collection of, collection of leased equipment. It's costing about $5,500 a day, each overnight. So that's what's consuming our cash at present. If we run over and check on our animals, we'll see that 36 cows of our Angus here doing quite well, plenty of food and water, so they're all set. If we check our young calves that we'll have making milk by the end of the year, they're coming along quite nicely, but they've still got a little bit of growing to do, so we'll just keep feeding them hay, and they've got plenty of straw, so that's all good. And now, being April, we should have some silage, and in fact there's a new mod that just came out last week that I've started to use. If you're on PC, it's called the Time Saving Stock Check, and it's terrific. I'd highly recommend you having a look at this one if you haven't already. And what you can see here is that it gives us a summary page of all information that's available somewhere else, but it brings it together in a form that's relevant for us. So these are the things that we have in stock somewhere in our farm. So we've got a little bit of corn in the silo. We've got some water in the animal pens. We've made overnight some silage, and we've got hay stored up, and so on and so forth. And then what you can see is what's the current best market price per 1,000 litres for each of those items. And more helpfully, what then is the current value of those items, and where can we yield that? And if it was the max price, which is achieved in this month, and you'll see we're coming up to max price for the fabric, what would potentially be the maximum? All right, and as you can see here, the fabric's not expected to get much more valuable. And the only thing to take into account is that's the amount of fabric that's in the factory, which is all it can take account of. But I know from the last time we drove past that there's actually 4 pallets sitting outside. So we can expect to triple that amount when we sell. So in the low 40s. So either later on today or in the next couple of game days, we need to be selling that. And we've also got $20,000 worth of silage there, so we can get ourselves back in the black pretty easily. And so I'm thinking that might be the first order of business. But certainly recommend, as you can see, all in one go. We've got the current state of play. And you can even see maybe we should sell a little bit of hay at some point because we're sitting on so much of it. If we get stuck for cash. So that's a good place to go. So we'll do what we did last time and just do a couple of trips of silage to give us some cash in the bank and introduce a couple of options. So I'll see you when that job's taken care of. Back with our second load of silage here. As you can see, the first one got us into the positives, so oops, helps if we stop in that tip point. So this should boost the coffers a little bit, take us up probably somewhere in the order of 9,000, I'm guessing. No, maybe hit 10. 9,800, so that's a bit healthier than where we started the day and should keep us running through at least for April. Now, as is always the case, Kevin was chatting to Jimmy Ray in the yard, and Jimmy Ray's probably not the sharpest tool in the shed, and fairly blunt and direct, so he's good for gossip. And so he wanted to know what Kevin was going to do now that seems that Leroy, and if you haven't seen the earlier episodes, we ended up as the new owners of the spinnery when we were doing a couple of contracts for Leroy on field 14 and 13 over there for his cotton, and it seems we got stuck with delivery when the spinnery went into Chapter 11 or receivership. So we ended up as the owners, took out a loan, a bit of a loan, or extended our loan with the mortgage over our farm in order to be able to pay for it. But we've been producing fabric from the cotton we had left over from those contracts. Now it seems, and the new piece of information from Jimmy Ray is that Leroy's decided not to plant cotton this year, and in fact you might have noticed there's a nice green tinge. Looks like possibly sugar beet has gone into field 14. Now that's potentially a bit of a problem. We'll have a look. A problem insofar as if nobody in the area is planting cotton. So what have we got here on this map? We have no cotton on the map. So this is field 14, which is indeed sugar beet. Field 13 looks like it's now got corn in it. And so far, nobody has put any cotton in. Let's have a look at contracts. Is somebody wanting cotton to be planted? There are a few weeding contracts, interestingly, but no, and a few baling contracts, but no sowing contracts. So that leaves us in a bit of a pickle with nothing in our spinnery and no prospect, where it's really just costing us money. So Kevin's going to need to give that some serious thought. You can see our silage production there. We've still got 80,000 litres of grass to process, so there's a little bit more income to be generated there. So in the immediate term, we're not going to run out of funds. But in terms of today's business, I think we've got 3,000 litres of fertiliser there, and we bought some extra. If we have a look, we know we need to get some fertiliser on the oats that we planted last time. So we don't actually know what the situation is for that part of the field up there. So perhaps what we've got to do is buy the soil map for that part of the field. $9,000. That's going to wipe us out. I don't think we'll do that for the minute. But if we have a look at the pH, that's the lime. That's fine. We know for sure we need some nitrogen in that oat field. So I think what we'll go ahead and do is put that in, particularly while we've got the spreader. And I guess if we then think about how we're going to solve for the field we planted last time, what's it think approximate? This is always a bit out. 1,000 litres for field 35. So it doesn't think we need a lot. Let's get over there and get that sorted. You'll also notice that at the end of last time I started ploughing this field so that we can put some grass, proper grass in it rather than just the meadow grass. So we'll leave the seeder here and head over and let's get some fertiliser on field 35, which we're going to refer to the one I liked the best in the comments. I was looking for a field name, Twilight. So our Twilight field, seeing we have done quite a bit of twilight work in that field. So field 35 will be known as Twilight. You can see the oats have come up quite nicely there. So it shouldn't take us too long . But maybe we did buy more fertiliser than we require, but ultimately we'd like to be able to make our own, I think. And now that we've got some cows producing a little bit of manure, that might be a possibility. So let's see over here. I need to be turning on the sensors now that we've got a crop out of the ground. That's Alt B. Let's head in here. That's looking pretty healthy. So this shouldn't take too long. Although it is ripping through the fertiliser at a pretty quick rate, so we'll want to be... We're going to use a lot more than the 1,000 litres that the tool suggested, I suspect. Let's just run up to the end here. Wondering what's on Kevin's mind with regards to the spinnery. So not having any cotton. It wasn't a proposition really in our financial situation to plant cotton ourselves, and part of the consideration was that, I guess it might have been what was behind Leroy's decision is, you know, it's hard to compete with the big cotton producers a bit more south of here. But I wonder what Kevin and Jocelyn are going to do. How are we going here? We're going to use most of that fertiliser that we had. So certainly that 1,000 litre estimate was nowhere near what we need for this field and this crop. Different soil types, of course, make a big difference. Well, that's a pretty good and quick and fast job. Now, one of the things that we could do on the other piece of oat field is have a bit of a guess at what we think the soil type and therefore the composition and the requirement for fertiliser is, and just wing it. Which, rather than spending $9,000 on a field report right at the minute, could be the way to go. So if we have a look here, we know that the soil type, there's a stripe of silty clay that kind of runs through here. So I think it's fair to assume that silty clay is going to be fairly present in this field. There'll be some loam maybe in the top half there. And if we look at then the types of nitrogen loading that we needed, somewhere around the 100 to 140 is the amount. So I think if we went for 120 and put that on the field, that might, so we've got 2,500 litres. If we have a look at our little menu, we'll see what it detects. But we might have to play with the application, because it doesn't know what the soil type is. So we'll just experiment a little bit, I think. And that's we will ultimately need to test the soil on that field, but we might, when we're a little got the crop in, invest in a sensor and just run the samples ourselves. So you can see I've done 3 headlands here, and we'll run around with the plow after we've got this fertilising done and finish it off so we can get the seeder going on the field. Let's drive onto the field and see what sense. This one isn't nearly as big. Is he going to detect anything? Probably not. So we will need to change the reference value. It won't let me change the reference value. That's interesting. How do I turn? Oh, deactivate auto. There we go. So therefore, I should be able to application rate up at, so let's put it up at 129 a kilo. No, sorry, 129 kilos a hectare. And we will just wing it. We'll see how we go. It might be a little bit high, but it won't be awful. I think we're over. So we'll just trim him back a little there. Let's see what that tells us. Nothing at all. Doesn't give us any information. What happens if we hop out? Expected yield 63%. So what I'm interpreting that to mean is, regardless of having put the fertilizer on, it pretty much ignores it. Which is a little annoying, and I would have thought defeats the purpose, but there we go. We'll see next month if there's any change. And when we get a little bit more, cash, we'll be able to buy the soil, report, or sample it ourselves. So let's just drop this guy off here for now and switch across to our trusty John Deere. If we can get this ploughing done, we're not going to need the plough again next season, and we can go ahead and return that, particularly given the issues we've had with it, seeing as it's on lease. If we put you down, you remembered we're making a field here. Yes, you do. No, you don't. Better. Let's back up a little bit. Hopefully. Just about get. Of course, there's a couple of dots I miss. We'll come back on the next run and get those. But this shouldn't take all that long to get finished. It's a good opportunity to contemplate his woes with the spinnery. clear enough now, so if we take the other tractor, which we can put on the seeder, and get him or her started on the seeding, at least on the headlands. While we finish the... Yeah, let's see here. If we come down to create a job, CP fieldwork, the field we want is this one. You can go that way. That is the correct work width. Let's do 3 headlands, sharp corners, clockwise. Longest edge. Generate a course. That looks pretty good. And the start is just in front of us over there, so we'll start the job. At the first waypoint. Let's just check that we've got tool settings. We will use the fertilizer on this one because it's grass. We want to change the seed to grass, and that should be good to go. Trundle around at quite a rapid rate, so we just need to make sure that we're well clear of the headlands. Just the last little triangle to do here. Rain should clear shortly, but it's doing a good job at the moment of bedding in the grass. We don't have a roller at present or the funds one, so that might be in the next season shopping list. Just one little patch to pick up. And that'll be the end of the ploughing, I think. we'll pick you up. Let's have a look at our situation with the stores. I think all of the equipment that we have, we can think about changing over for now to keep our leasing costs down a little bit, so that when we get the weed out of the ground and come back with a bigger crop, we're in a position to take advantage of perhaps some second-hand equipment, or certainly some larger equipment in a couple of cases. So I think if we have a look at the catalogue, so all these items are in use. The forage wagon's a bit marginal, and the trailer's probably not as big as we would like, but it's doing the job. The plow we've finished with, so we can return that. And the baler's quite cheap. The forage wagon's acceptable. So in terms of our tractors, they're both pretty expensive, but we need the large one if we've got anything heavy to pull. I guess our option would be to just go with the M7 for now and make do. And maybe that's the option. The buyout price, as you can see, is still $253. We are running the lease to buy mod, but with a variation which 6250 is down here somewhere. The 62. Yeah, see, with all of the equipment on it, it's still not that much cheaper. So we could buy a new one for much the same sort of price as what it would cost to pay out. In terms of what's available, there's a couple of trucks that we don't need. So I think our other tractor is stuck. Let's just turn you around and get you recommenced on your course there. And hopefully you will head up there without too much difficulty. But with that, we were just looking at a couple of things in the shop. The other thing we're going to need is something to load the pallets over at the spinnery, and a skid steer loader might be the ticket. What's this going to set us back? So, well, we don't need anything fancy, just a basic. This might do well for the spinnery. What would it cost to lease one of those? $1,200. So I think that might be next time as we go to sell our produce. Looking at the fabric, it's up very close to the top price. It appears to have sort of settled down. So I think we'll let the seeder finish for today, and when we come back next time, we'll take the trailer across, lease ourselves a skid steer and see if we can load something on. And you never know, maybe by the time we get to there, Kevin and Jocelyn will have had some inspiration about what to do. But for now, we'll probably take this over ourselves and finish it off. And thank you all for watching. It continues to be an interesting proposition, and we'll see you all next time. See ya.